Hey, we have a new task force.
This is really Just Stop. Here's Ross, the host with today's dose of common sense.
Hello, everybody, and hey, welcome back. So today, there was a big announcement. We're gonna find it. We're gonna talk about it. But this is Representative Luna, and she made an announcement a few days ago that today she was going to have a press conference, and it started to play all by itself. But anyway, that she was going to make an announcement on Tuesday at 3 p.m. and this is what that announcement turned out to be. So let's look at that. This is going to be played on X from someone else's page. Just happened to have found it on here. UAP James. That's where we're finding it, is UAP James. And so let's have a listen. This is the beginning of her press conference.
It is with profound honor that I have been entrusted by Speaker Mike Johnson and Chairman James Comer to lead the House Oversight Task Force on Declassification of Federal Secrets. Together with the help of the White House, our intelligence allies, the Department of Defense, the Department of Justice, we will be conducting investigations into the following: the assassinations of JFK, RFK, and Dr. Martin Luther King.
Wow.
Unidentified aerial phenomena, also known as UAPs. Unidentified submerged objects, also known as USOs. The Epstein client list. The origins of COVID-19, and the 9/11 files.
My goodness.
This task force will be a beacon of
She's going to be
bipartisanship.
busy.
On the Republican side, Representatives Burchett, Boebert, Burleson, Crane, Gill, and Mace will be joining me, although I'd like to note that I'm expanding this to the entire governing body and will
Boebert's
be
going to be on
to
there.
wave on. Our first hearing is set for March. The date will be announced soon, and we've already initiated close to a dozen communications with various agencies, to include Pam Bondi at the Department of Justice and the Secretary of State. This will no longer be a task force that makes bold promises only to fade into irrelevance or send strongly worded letters. This will be a relentless pursuit of truth and transparency, and we will not stop until the American people have the answers they deserve. We will cut through the bureaucracy, challenge the stonewalling, and ensure that the American people finally get the truth that they have been denied for too long. If we are to endure and thrive as a nation, we must restore trust through transparency. The American people must be trusted to think for themselves, to form their own judgments from the truth that they are entitled to know. We've been treated like children for too long and kept in the dark by those we elected to serve us. It is my solemn duty to begin mending this trust, to form a new relationship between the government and the governed. Let us embark on this journey together towards a government that does not serve, but one that enlightens. That does not just serve, but one that enlightens. Trust through transparency, that begins now. It is with...
Okay, well, there you have it. Straight from Rep. Luna's mouth. So they're going to be busy. They're going to do a lot of work that's already been done. I mean, they're going to look into JFK. That's been dug into hundreds and hundreds of times. Everybody from world-renowned pathologists and forensic people and doctors and investigators to comedians and actors. Because Richard Belzer even wrote a book about JFK. He was obsessed about the JFK assassination and the conspiracy that he believed was involved. And I will say, I read at least one. I know I read one. Might have been two books from him if he wrote more than one. I don't remember now, but I do remember at least one book that I read. I have it somewhere. And it's not a bad book. The only problem is that a lot of these amateurs who tried to investigate it and things, they wind up getting trapped in these conspiracy theories that were literal Soviet propaganda that was pushed out, and these narratives and things that were created by the Soviet Union in order to build distrust in our own government. And those are things that are fact. It's factual. There's not, I'm going to do what Tucker Carlson did today. It's a fact. Well, I mean, you can look it up and read about it, but don't take my word for it that it's a fact. But it was a fact that a lot of these conspiracy theories and these accusations that were thrown around at the time and all throughout into the 70s and stuff, they all came straight from the Soviet Union. It was Russian propaganda. And so a lot of the conspiracy theorists who want to look into that, they wind up going down that rabbit hole instead of looking at actual evidence and things like that. There's a section in my little book about conspiracy theories called Just Stop that kind of, it covers this topic, the JFK assassination, a little bit, because a lot of people begin their investigation or their research, let's say, into the JFK assassination using a false premise to begin with, and that was that Oswald had 6 seconds to make these shots. And that wasn't true, and it was never true. And they made the assumptions that the Zapruder film captured all of the shots on film, that all of them were encompassed within the time frame of that film. And that wasn't true either. And a lot of those things weren't discovered until later, when people started actually forensically analyzing the film and the sounds and different things like that. They realized that there was a lot more time that he had to make those shots, and that the Zapruder film started after, like, the first shot had been fired. Basically, the first shot missed, and I may have been actually 2 shots that missed. One went into the curb, and one ricocheted off of a flagpole. So there was some sort of a stanchion type thing that was on the building, and so there's a long technical explanation for all of that. You're not going to find it in my book or on here because it's, I don't know, it takes hours, I guess, to go through all of that stuff. But there were several books that were written about it, and it was on the cover of magazines, 6 Seconds in Dallas and all of that stuff. And it was a lie. They built a narrative that sounded good and it looked good as a headline, but it wasn't true. And so people started trying to go, oh, no one could have fired 4 shots in that much time and been accurate. And none of it was true anyway. He had more time than that. So we're going to rehash all of that. There are still some JFK documents that haven't been released, and I'm all for that. I'm all for releasing those things. And I'm sure a lot of people, probably millions of people, are curious about why the government kept these things classified for so long. There's going to be a variety of reasons, and probably different stacks of the documents will have been retained, and remained classified for different reasons. This stack over here might be because it reveals the names of operatives that we had in different organizations, or it reveals the names of some covert operatives or some CIA officers who were involved in this and that when they were investigating it, and they don't want to reveal those people's identities. There might be some foreign intelligence that we got when we were researching the thing. And so then we don't want to reveal our methods, and we don't want to, burn a source because it's in there. And then you have to consider, do these people's families, are they still around? I mean, the people who were there, probably most of them are going to be dead and gone by now because it was a long time ago, and they were all full-grown adults back then. So that's probably not as big a concern as it is for their families and things like that. Some of it could just be embarrassing. They don't want to release this. We're going to keep this classified because this piece of the investigation revealed some things that are kind of embarrassing. So we're just gonna leave that here in this safe. Some of it could be just to spare the family a lot of a new wave of grief. Some of it's going to probably be like autopsy photos and things like that too, that I'm sure the family is not going to be happy about them just being out there on the internet all the time and stuff. And there's probably a lot of things that are, that way. But the Kennedy family is still around, still very active in politics and in American life. And I mean, RFK Jr. is, if he gets through, I don't know if they had his confirmation yet. I don't know. But, for NIH head. So the Kennedys are still around. They're still very active in politics, and they were for the decades following the JFK assassination. So, some of that might just be not putting it out there because they want to spare the family and any additional grief because it was bad enough as it was. Some of the other embarrassing things that may have been discovered during that investigation might be things that would embarrass the Kennedy family. So we don't know. But if they're going to release them all, like President Trump said there, he told them to, he said release it all, we might learn some very interesting things, but I don't think we're going to learn anything new about the murder itself. Luna, at some point, she talks about the magic bullet theory and all of that other stuff, and that has been, calling it the magic bullet theory, first of all, is just wrong. And it was a way of mocking the official investigation by conspiracy theorists. And it wasn't a magic bullet. It did exactly what a bullet would have done, but the bodies were not in the position that they would need to be if you're going to just, these guys were sitting next to each or in front of each other, right there, and a bullet came in, it wouldn't make these turns. Well, they weren't. One was turned around to look behind him, and one was leaning forward because he'd already been shot once, and all these different things. If you put the bodies where they were at the time that the shot was fired, it makes perfect sense. It wasn't a magic bullet that had to change directions. It went straight through. So, anyway, there's going to be a whole fiasco about all of this, I can tell. But, if you want to get entertained, I wouldn't recommend watching the Oliver Stone film because it was full of literal bullshit in there. It was nothing in there that was true. There might have been something in there that was true, but most of it was just the conspiracy theories that the Soviet Union put out, and that he just took that and told everybody that was the truth. Let's see, but she's going to, do the whole disclosure thing.
But also, let's see what the evidence is. We're hoping to present that information and at least acknowledge it from a government perspective that we are not alone, but also let's see what the evidence is. We're hoping to present that.
Yeah, let's see what the evidence is. Currently, there's not a lot. And this really chaps the hide of all of the true believers. And like I've said many times before, I want to be a believer. I hope there is life out there in the universe, and I hope they're a shit ton smarter than we are, because we seem to be doing a pretty poor job of building a civilization. And if they come here and visit us or keep an eye on us or are sending probes to check on us for over the centuries, because, they've known about us, maybe, let's say, my greatest dream would be they've known about us for thousands of years, and they were more advanced than us. So they started sending probes to take pictures and take samples. And, the same things that we do on our planets out there in the solar system. We're going to take samples. We're going to check the atmosphere. We're going to shoot light at it and get reflections and try to determine things. And we're going to, look, this is how we determined that there's life on this planet, was by checking the gases in the atmosphere. And so maybe they did that. And they're like, holy crap, there's life there. So, they just keep sending probes. Let's just assume that that's true. And then they decide that, hey, they're advanced enough now that maybe in the next 100 years we might be able to come there and come down and visit instead of just sending probes or something like that. But there's just not going to be any evidence of that. People want that to be true, so everything they see they consider to be evidence, but there is none. There is no tangible evidence that any of that is true. The thing that we have the most evidence for is that it's people making shit up. Is one of the big ones. The other one is just people being paranoid and not understanding what they're seeing. Then there's also classified technology that is from us or our peer nations, near peer nations, adversarial nations. But then you also have the disinformation, the intentional disinformation that's put out in order to get people's attention away from classified aircraft. And it's a thing that's been going on since the 40s. Everyone knows it. People have admitted it. It's been in documents. It's been in films. It's been in books. It's been everywhere. It's a literal thing that they did was they pushed people towards the UFO narrative to get them away from classified aircraft that they were getting too close to. And a lot of the things that people have videoed and photographed over the years have been classified experimental aircraft. And they're never going to come out and say, yes, this one's ours, unless it's something that we don't use anymore, or it's a technology that was a failure. But there's been things in the skies for decades that people have claimed were UFOs when they were not. They were absolutely conventional craft, and they weren't doing anything odd. They, might have been stealth aircraft that, were less noisy, and you couldn't see them on radar that good or something, but none of it violates the laws of physics. Nothing that I've seen that's an actual picture or video did anything that was going to defy physics. And I have a couple of requests for information that are currently out there right now, to even discuss things like when these Navy pilots say that it went from 60,000 feet down to sea level in a matter of seconds. Well, you were flying an airplane that can travel at 1,200 miles an hour. How long does it take you to go from 60,000 feet to sea level? If you're flying at 1,100 miles an hour or 1,000 miles an hour, it literally takes a matter of seconds. So to look at this, for these pilots who fly these planes, to look at something and go, well, I went from 60,000 feet to sea level and it only took a few seconds. Well, it would only take you a few seconds to do that in the plane that you're flying right now. Why they don't understand this or don't grasp it is beyond me, but a lot of other people don't grasp it either. They're just, they said that this isn't possible. So it's possible in the plane that he's flying because it isn't violating any laws of physics. And anyway, it's going to be the same old stuff. And all the whistleblowers who aren't actually blowing the whistle on anything, the thing that they're blowing the whistle on is that they heard something or they read something or someone told them something. It's all meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. There's no actual evidence. There's none. If you want to, what they need to do, first of all, is take all these people who claim to be whistleblowers and give them full immunity from prosecution. Like complete blanket immunity. Have President Trump write them a preemptive pardon. Your pardon from any crime that you may commit in the course of your whistleblowing about alien life and UFOs. Put them in front of Congress on live television and let them say everything that they know. That's it. That's all you have to do. Just give them immunity. Or, a preemptive pardon thing. Or both. Just do both. Just load it up. And then also say, hey, we're going to pay for your pension. You guys are former military guys. You resigned before you could retire because, you did the whistleblower thing. So here, we're going to let you go ahead and take your retirement and have your pension. Do whatever they want. Give them what they want and let them speak their piece. And I guarantee you it's not going to be anything that's going to prove a damn thing because they don't actually know it. And the things that they do know are probably easily explainable. And my number one thing that I keep harping on all the time is you don't know everything. It doesn't matter what security clearance you held. It doesn't matter what your job was. There are things that you didn't know because you weren't read in on them because you didn't have a need to know about that super secret classified spy plane that we have or, whatever it might be. A drone that can loiter in place for 3 days. You don't know because it's not part of your program and you're not in it. So I don't know. Nothing's going to come out of it. We might get some more documents released. They're going to declassify a bunch of stuff. Maybe the CIA and the FBI and the NSA. They might have all these cool documents of different sightings and stuff that we're not aware of yet. They might have better pictures or video evidence. than what's been released. If they're going to declassify all that stuff, it'll keep all the ufologists and all the UFO buffs busy for the next few decades. They could placate this entire, segment of our population by doing this and just say, here's 7,000 new videos and 80,000 photographs, and here's 150,000 pages of new documents that you've never seen before. It's going to take people years to go through all of that stuff and try to analyze it and try to track it down and figure out and talk to witnesses and do things like that. It could keep everybody busy for decades. But the other things, 9/11, there are still some things classified about 9/11. I'm sure a lot of those are going to be sources and, methods type things that they're going to maintain the classification on. Probably she's going to get set down in a skiff with a couple of different organizations, and they're going to say, shut up. And she's going to, resist. I'm sure she's going to be, puff her chest out and resist. But she, in some of these cases, on some of these things that she's talking about, they're going to totally declassify it and, put it all out there. I guarantee you that she's going to back off certain things because she's going to be told, you need to back off of these things because we're not ready to release this information. It's going to put people's lives in jeopardy. So shut up. And she'll do it because, she's not crazy, is she? Anna Paulina Luna, is she crazy? She's cute. I don't know anything about her other than she's a veteran, but she would understand that, I would think, as a veteran, and she's married to a military guy too. She would understand that whole, this, if you put this out, this could risk people's lives. And it's not just a matter of government transparency. This is we don't want terrorists to murder this group of people who would be put at risk if we put this information out. So I'm pretty sure she would understand that because of her background and her family involvement. So, who knows? There's going to be things, though. I'll guarantee you that she's going to be set down somewhere and they're going to say, shut up. Here's some stuff that you can have to, keep the masses quiet about something for a while, but stop asking these specific questions because you're not going to get it. So move on. And she'll do it. I'm pretty sure she'll do it. She's not going to put herself at risk either. So, but that was the big deal. Everybody was waiting for this press conference, and now we have it. And I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. Their first hearing isn't going to be until March, which, isn't that far away. But so we have a few weeks to wait, and they'll have some hearings, and we might see some interesting things come out of it. But I guarantee you there's not going to be any proof of extraterrestrial life. There isn't going to be any proof of alien visitation. There isn't going to be proof that the government is in possession of some alien spacecraft. Which reminds me, I was listening to I'm going to have to start writing these things down because I listen to a bunch of podcasts. And sometimes I just click on one and I've never listened to this podcaster before. But they might be interviewing someone I'm interested in hearing what they have to say. And today I was listening to one. I'll have to look it up and we'll talk about it later. But pretty fascinating stuff that I always forget to bring up because I don't know. I don't bring it up because I'm like, what was the name of that podcast? I don't even know the name of the podcast. But anyway, whatever I was going to get to, I have some other things that I want to discuss that we'll have to bring in, but I'll have to get the podcast thing, get the sound clips and all of that. And, or we can pull it up here and listen to them. But there's some pretty fascinating things people are discussing right now. It's nothing groundbreaking or revelatory, but different perspectives on some different things, and I find it pretty interesting. But there are technologies out there that people don't even know that they exist, but they've existed for a long time. And it goes back to my earlier rants about different things from the 40s and 50s and 60s. And people have always been seeing actual craft, and unless they're just hallucinating or whatever. But even the first ones, the whole flying saucer thing, they were all legitimate aircraft. So we'll have some other things to talk about as this comes along, and there's other podcasts that discuss it. But It'll be a while. And like I said, I don't know. I could be wrong, but I don't think anything new is going to come of it. But it'll be fun anyway. Because, we all like, oh, look, a new picture nobody's ever seen before. This is a CIA thing. Who let this out? It'll be fun. I'm sure it will be fun. Whether the hearings are going to be good or not, I don't know. They've already talked to everybody. So all they're going to do is bring the same people back. You're not going to get, the director of the CIA to sit down in front of him and say, yep, aliens are real. It's just not going to happen. So don't hold your breath for that kind of thing. But I don't know. Stick around. It might get interesting. And we'll have another show here pretty soon. I've got some other topics we're going to go over. But like I said, the last few weeks have been really ridiculous, and it's starting to calm down now, so I'll be able to put some shows together, and we can discuss some things. And we will just crack into them, and I'll tell you my perspective on it, but I don't think you're going to like it, because it's probably not what you want to hear. Oh, anyway, good night. See ya. Take care of yourselves, and, I don't know. Get your vaccinations.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Really? Just Stop with your host, Ross. Make sure to like and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so that you never miss a dose of some common sense.